When you visit the Royal BC Museum, you expect to see the main attractions propped up as clearly as possible. But there's an art to making sure exhibits shine. Today we introduce you to a mount maker. For decades, she's safely supported the museum's most priceless pieces. But her hope is you don't actually notice her meticulous work.
I get to build artifact mounts. It's called mount making. We use a lot of brass because it's it's an easy material to solder. I do a lot of silver soldering to make all of these little armatures. Building mounts for me is one of the most exciting, fun things. It sounds simple, but there's a lot behind it. And part of it is just a lot of experience in how do materials behave over time? How does gravity affect an artifact? So I was tasked with building the mounts for dinosaurs of BC, and there were some wonderful challenges. One of them was a T-Rex tooth. If you look really closely, you'll see a little tiny brass claw that comes up and captures the top, but I've infill painted it so that you barely see it if you're just looking from the outside. That was an amazing challenge for me. My mount cannot obscure the beauty of the object or what we really want you to be looking at. So the ammonite were a real challenge of having to put claws up that hold. Some of them are a very heavy stone that can't slip out while it's traveling or while it's on display. That's got to be really rock solid. If people came to the museum in the last year, they would have seen our Ukrainian exhibit. The stress of working on the eggs is that, in fact, they're hollow. They're incredibly fragile. How do you put a keeper on top of an egg to hold it there without actually crushing the egg? So there's so much that goes into the presentation. We don't necessarily want the public to see all of that work, but know that there's a lot behind the things you do see and how they're presented. For me, this is the best of all of my experience of the past. Comes down to building mounts. And I love that. I love that this is what I get to do.
This Week in History, brought to you by the Royal BC Museum, bringing British Columbia's stories together.